Alrighty. So what this means when they say approximate irrational solutions is it means we're not going to get nice perfect squares. Okay? So what this means also is we'll just kind of go calculator city on this, and we'll just get an approximation to the nearest hundredth. So that's 2 decimal places, because the first decimal place is the tenths, and the next is the hundredths. So it's like rounded to the nearest penny, so to speak. All right, so first guy here. So obviously we can do some combined like terms kind of thing. This is what took a couple of minutes. I had to go down to the car and get my pen. It was laying in my change drawer, or change compartment in the car. I forgot to bring it up. All right, so we just add these two guys together. So it's going to give us 8x squared, right? Just add the numbers in front. Equals 80. Okay, then anytime we're solving for x, we need to get everybody that isn't x to the other side, right? So we divide by the guy in front of the x squared. There we go. So then that's going to go away. It's going to give us x squared. 80 divided by 8, that's an easy one. That's 10. All right, so then we take square roots of both sides. Right? And we get x equals the square root of 10. Now, since they said approximate, we can go ahead and put it in our calculator. And where's my calculator? Let's bring him on the scene. And there he is. Sweet. All right, so let's clear this out. So we go 10 square rooted. It's like 3.16 if I remember right. Yeah. Not saying I've done that too many times. Okay, that's it. Easy and peasy, right? All right, next guy. So we start with this. All right, so the common error that people do on this guy is they're all concerned about the variable, right? It's like, oh man, I got an x and I got a square, so it's got to be x squared. Yeah, that's true. But don't forget, it's kind of like distributive property. I have to square this x, but remember too, I have to square the 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So this becomes 4x squared. And it's 6x squared over here. Add those guys together, equals 80. Well, this looks kind of suspicious, doesn't it? So this guy, we add these two together, right? So we get 10x squared, so it's almost like the other problem. Except instead of 8x, we got 10x. So we divide by the 10. Okay. So then x squared equals 80 divided by 10 is just 8. Square root both sides. X is going to be the square root of 8. So we break out our calculator again. Square root of 8 should be a little less than 3. Because the square root of 9 is 3. And this is the square root of 8. So it's close, but not quite. So we square root it. Yeah, 2.83. Which is pretty close to 3. Okay. Questions so far? Pop in attendance while you're thinking about it. Quiz. So clearly Elijah. Listen to folks. Gianna's here. Cool. And we're missing the boys that start with W today, but they'll probably stroll along a little bit. All right, cool. We're good. All right, let's just go ahead and check out a few more. All right, so this says solve for x. It says then find the side lengths of each triangle to the nearest tenth. Okay. So this is Pythagorean theorem, isn't it? Okay. So that means the two small sides we square them, so I've got 2x, I'm going to square him, plus the other short side squared, so he's 6x, I'm going to square him, all right, and that's going to equal 200, and I'm going to square him. All right, so we said 2 times 2 is 4, so that's going to give us 4x squared. 6 times 6 is going to be 36. X squared equals 200 squared, which I think is 40,000, but let's make sure. A little bit so we see what's going on. 200, square them up, 40K. Good. All right. So 40,000 dollars. That would be nice. All right. Add these two guys together. So 4 and 36, coincidentally, is also 40 with an x squared. All right. And that equals 40K. All right. Divide by the 40. So x is going to be 1,000, or x squared, excuse me. Like so. Okay, then we're going to have x equals the square root of 1,000. So the square root of 10 is 3.16, so I think this is 31.6. But again, use your calculator. This is what happens when they force you not to use calculators as a kid. All right, so we divide him by 40. Gives us a grand. Take the square root of the grand. Yeah, 31.6. All right. Next, let's change color so we don't get them confused. A nice deep purple. One of my favorite rock bands. I'm sure you've never heard of them, but that's okay. All right, so this guy, notice what they did. They switched these two guys, didn't they? That's okay. It's all good. So then this one's going to be short side squared. So this is going to be 2x and then squared again plus 200 squared equals 6x squared. All right. So we already did the numbers, so we know what they're going to be. So 4x squared plus 40 grand equals 36x squared. So the big difference here is last time we added the 4 and the 36. This time we're going to subtract the 4 from the 36. So we're going to get 40 grand equals 32x squared. So divide by 32, rapidly run out of space. That's okay, we'll get it done. All right, so 40K. And then divide by 32. It's 1250. So I guess we'll move up here. So we need x equals the square root of 1250. All right. Let's take a look at that. Calculator City. Move him over. So we have 1250, take the square root. 3536. Actually, they just went to the nearest 10th, don't they? So I guess 35.4. Okay. So again, lots of calculator fun here. All right, I see Gabe made it in. Cool. Good to see you. I have you as attendant now. All right, questions on that one? As I undehydrate here for a second. Thank you, Chloe. All right, let's check out a few more. All right, it says use two methods to solve x squared minus 900 equals 30. All right, method 1. Just do like we've been doing, right? So we got x squared minus 900. So minus 900. What's wrong with this thing? Equals 0. So here we would add 900 to both sides. What is wrong with the 9s today? So add 900 over here. These guys cancel out. I get x squared equals 900. The next move, of course, is the square root. So we get x. Now remember, you're going to have a plus and minus version, right? So on the ones before, we didn't talk about the minus because a negative distance doesn't make any sense. So I probably should have pointed that out. So it turns out the square root of 900 is 30. Pretty sure it's 30. Let's make sure. So 900 square rooted, yeah, 30. All right, so plus or minus 30. Okay, the other way to do this is to factor. And if we factored this guy, change up the color scheme here a little bit, we would say this factors into x minus 30 times x plus 30. And that equals 0. And if you FOIL that back out, you get a minus 30x and a plus 30x in the middle, so they cancel. So I get x times x, that's x squared, minus 30 and positive 30 is negative 900, excuse me. There you go. So then in this one, we say, well, what makes this guy 0? Well, it goes to 0 when x equals 30, right? And over here, we go to 0 when x equals negative 30. So that's your two methods. This one's just solve, like we always do. This one is factor, like we sometimes do. Okay? Method 1, method 2. Questions? All right, let's knock out a few more. We'll call it. All right, it says at a certain time of day, the sun shines on a large flagpole, causing a shadow that is twice as long as the flagpole is tall. What is the height of the flagpole to the nearest tenth of a foot? Okay. So in the future, you will do this using trigonometry, but you guys aren't there yet. Next year in geometry, you'll do some trig, and you'll do problems kind of like this. But that's down the road. All right, so they're saying we're going to call x the height of this guy, right? And the shadow is twice as long, so he's 2x. Now it looks suspiciously like those problems we were doing. Right? So again, what we're going to do is we're going to square the two short sides, right? Add them together, and that equals the long side squared. Our good friend Pythagoras, because this is a right angle. At least if they put the flagpole up the way they're supposed to, it's a right angle. So hopefully it's not leaning one way or the other. All right, so the first guy is just going to be x squared, right? We've squared this guy like 3 times now. So 2x quantity squared, that means parentheses around it, is going to be plus 4x squared. And that equals 210 squared. So we now know that 200 squared is 40k. This is going to be a little bit more. I don't know, 42,000, something like that. Let's take a look. All right, 210 squared. Squared. Oh, a little more than I said, 44. So then this is going to be 5x squared. Just add those two guys together. Equals 44,100. So it's a little bigger than I anticipated, but that's okay. We're still in the ballpark. Divide by 5. All right, so we'll do that next. Divide by 5. So 8820. And that's going to be x squared. Square root both sides. So x is going to be the square root of 8820. Bring the guy back up. 8820 square rooted. And it said to the nearest tenth of a foot. So we'll say 93.9. I would say just go to 94, but we'll go ahead and follow the directions. 93.9. Beautiful. Questions, comments, complaints? There's something to complain about. You got a 3-day week, right? 3-day week, 4-day weekend. I think they should just adopt that permanently. I'd be all good with that. 3 school days, 4 beach days. Yeah, sounds about right. All right, a couple more and we're out. All right, it says find solutions of the equation. Okay, we can do that. First things first, we need to get this 2900 over to the other side, right? So we'll subtract him off. And we'll subtract him off here. So these guys are going to go away. So I've got negative 5x squared equals, and I'm far too lazy to do this in my head today. So 840 minus 2900. Let's do that. Here, we'll say current. So what was it again? Geez, I forgot already. 840. So 840 minus 2900 equals negative 2060. So minus 2060. Now, normally I'd be concerned about that negative sign there, but we have a negative sign over here, don't we? So that means we're just going to go ahead and divide by negative there. 2 negatives because they're positive. So now I have x squared equals a positive number, and I'm feeling much better. All right, so back to our regularly scheduled program here. So we divide this guy by negative 5. No, not 50. Negative 5. There we go. We get 412. And that's x squared, by the way. So we take the square root. So the square root of 400 is 20. So this should just be something a little bit more than 20. Let's do that. Bring that back, square root him. So 20.3. So 20.3. Notice it says find the solutions, plural. So again, this is not a situation where we have like a distance or the length of a side or something where you would use the positive value. So all you have to do to get these solutions is have a plus version and have a minus version. Yeah, we're good. Cool. All right, one more and we're out. SAT time. This would be an SAT question as well because there's 4 answers instead of 5. ACT, there's 5 answers to choose from. All right, so let's look at this bad boy. So it says the park has an area of 280 meters squared. A rectangular region with a length 3 times its width will be added to the park to give a total area of 435 square meters. So it says which equation can be solved to find the width of the region. Wow. Okay. So first things first, it says that we've got a new section where the length is 3 times the width. So here's the new section, right? So there's the new stuff. So the length is 3 times the width. So we'll call this the width. We'll call this the length. Right? Okay. So, and it says when we add that, that's going to make our grand total 435. Okay. So now we look at what we've got here. So we're going to end up with 435. Well, all our answers end with 435. That's no help. On the other side, we're going to add the 280, right? So it's going to be 280, and then the whole thing is going to equal 435. All right, so again, we have to add 280 on this side. And all our answers add 280. They're making this rough, aren't they? Okay, so that didn't help. So the real question is, in order to figure out the area of the new part, what do I have to do with these numbers? What's the formula for figuring out the area of a rectangle? Well, remember, it's the length times the width. So that means I would have to multiply x and 3x together. So based on my answers here, which one multiplies x and 3x together? What do you think? A, B, C, or D? The quicker we answer, the quicker you start your weekend from math. Just saying. Come on, somebody take a guess. Chloe says B. Okay. So, what do we think? Well, look at D. D looks like the thing with the triangles, right? We square this guy, we square this guy, we add them together. We don't have a triangle here, we've got a rectangle, right? Nope. That's not it. I don't know what this is. Here they're adding them together. We're not looking for perimeter. So I think Chloe's onto something. Good, because here, what are we doing? We're multiplying x times 3x, right? We're adding on the 280. There it is. And the whole thing has to equal 435. Bingo. Nice job, Chloe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. So again, I have you for attendance. Appreciate you showing up. And I guess we'll see you next week. Have a fabulous holiday. And we'll do it all then.